The most genius bank heist ever?
It starts with a knock at the door. Kevin McMullen, a manager at Northern Bank, answers to find two men in police uniforms standing outside. They tell him that there's been a family accident. He needs to come with them to identify a body. It's a lie. The moment he steps outside, a gun is pressed against the back of his head. His wife, Karen, is strangled by her throat.
What?
20 miles away, another family is being taken hostage. Chris Ward, a bank employee, watches helplessly as his family is held at gunpoint. The men give him a simple instruction: follow orders or they die. For the next 24 hours, Kevin and Chris will become pawns in a bigger plan than they can even imagine. They will walk into work the next morning, smile at the—
Not to undercut what he's saying, but I bet they can imagine it. I bet they're probably using us to rob the bank. Probably the bank that I work at is the this plan.
their coworkers and bosses and carry out the largest bank heist in UK history. By the time the vault is emptied, £26.5 million will be gone. No alarms will go off, no evidence will be found, and 2 decades later, the robbers and the money are still missing.
Sheesh.
This is the story of the Northern Bank robbery, the perfect crime. Chris Ward, an employee of the Northern Bank, one of the 4 major banks of Northern Ireland, is at his home in West Belfast watching football with his dad, mom, older brother, and his girlfriend, when a knock comes at the door.
Average British day, huh?
Kevin answered. He found a man standing on his doorstep. The man smiles and says,
"All right, Chris, I'm here to talk about Celtic."
That's the Celtic Football Club, which happened to be Chris Ward's favorite club. As an active member of the club's supporters group, Chris is used to people showing up at his door and asking about tickets or club events. To him, it's business as usual, but this time it's about to be the biggest mistake of his life. He lets the man inside, but as he does, he notices something he missed at first. 2 other figures standing just out of sight in the shadows, entering his house as well. As soon as the men set foot in the house, everything changes. The men pulled their guns and pointed it straight at Chris's family.
Chris, we're not here to talk about football, but about your job at the cash center in the basement of the Northern Bank.
Chris froze in his place.
We know who you are. We know everything about you. We're going to take you away for 24 hours, and your family is going to be held for that time in this house. The first thing you're going to do is simple. You get your work uniform, then you're gonna walk out that door and step into the car waiting outside. No talking, no looking around, just move.
Chris does as he's instructed. Outside, a car waits with its engine running.
I think I would have done something different. And I'm not calling this guy a coward. I just think I would have karate chopped the gun out of his hand, then grabbed the other guy's gun behind me and done a spin move and gone blam, 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 and headshot all 3 of the assailants, and then told my family, it's all right, I've got you. You know, not everybody has that skill. I'm not blaming him for it, but that's probably what I would have done.
The door already open. He's told to get in and lie down in the back. Behind the wheel, a driver sits silently, one hand on the steering wheel, the other gripping a gun. Chris gets in the back of the car and the driver pulls away, disappearing into the night, leaving Chris's family at the mercy of their captors. 20 miles away across Belfast, Kevin McMullen, a manager at Northern Bank, is about to experience the same fate. He and his wife, Karen McMullen, are sitting in their home in Loughlin Island, County Down, sipping tea and watching TV when they get the knock.
That was 4 shots? The 4th shot was from my mother-in-law. Am I right, fellas? Shut her up. Trying to watch footy.
Kevin found 2 men wearing PSNI uniform. That's the Police Service of Northern Ireland. One of the men is holding a clipboard with Kevin and Karen's names written on it. The men notified Kevin about a family incident and that he is needed immediately to identify the body. That is, of course, a lie. Kevin, caught off guard, took a step outside. The moment he did, the police officer pulled a gun and pressed it against—
I would have simply known he was lying when I saw his all-black, soulless demon eyes and fully bald head. I'm a good judge of character, all right? When I saw the guy looking like the fucking laser eyes of Satan, the guy from Dune,
needed immediately to identify the body.
I would ask to see some
That
ID.
is, of course, a lie. Kevin, caught off guard, took a step outside. The moment he did, the police officer pulled a gun and pressed it against the back of his head. Inside, Karen barely has time to react before an arm wraps around her throat, forcing her to the ground. As she struggled, she saw a 3rd masked man enter the house. The three men immediately dragged Kevin and his wife
Is that
into a spare
Michael
bedroom,
Jackson?
forced them to face the wall
Circa
while holding
2002?
them at gunpoint.
Kevin, forget your responsibilities at the Northern Bank. It's only a shower of orange bastards. None of that matters now. The only thing you need to think about is your wife.
Two of the men left the room and started cleaning everything meticulously, making sure that no fingerprints are left behind. After about an hour, the man in the room with them turns to Karen and tells her she's being moved to another house. He assures her that someone will take care of her there, another woman. But first, she needs to be blindfolded, and I mean her eyes will be taped shut.
Ugh.
Kevin watches helplessly as the men grab his blindfolded wife, lead her outside, and push her into a waiting car. Then just like that, she's gone. What Kevin doesn't know is that for the past hour, Chris Ward has also been held hostage in the house. His hands are cable tied behind his back, and he sits alone in the kitchen. The only light in the room comes from the open fridge. The men grab Chris and Kevin and force them into the living room.
Eye taping is actually really good for your sleep. So you think they were kind of helping them get like a better sleep regimen?
You have a very simple choice. You work with us, you cooperate with us, and your families will be fine. If you don't,
They were
they're
trying to
dead.
get like a more
It's as
Sigma.
simple as that. Now, here's how this is going to go. We're going to rob the Northern Bank, and you're going to help. We will lay down a line of instructions for you. You follow them, word for word, no mistakes. You mess up, even once, your families pay the price. And trust me, you don't want that on your conscience.
In that moment, Kevin understood the gravity of the situation. This wasn't a robbery, this was a full-blown hostage crisis. And he and Chris are about to find themselves entangled in the biggest bank robbery in UK history.
Okay.
With both of their families taken, the first phase of the plan is complete. In Northern Ireland, tiger kidnappings were nothing new. A tiger kidnapping involves two crimes in one. First, someone valuable, a person or an asset, is taken hostage. But instead of demanding money, the kidnappers force their victim to commit a second crime on their behalf. During the Troubles, tiger robberies were a common tactic used by both organized
Why is it
crime
tiger?
groups and paramilitaries. Even after peace returned to Northern Ireland, these crimes never fully disappeared. The targets could be anything: banks, businesses, or even private homes. In fact, it was so common that authorities
'Cause
had to come
tigers
up
are
with
red?
smarter ways to protect high-value assets, like banknotes. A few years before the robbery, Northern Bank introduced a security measure. The main vault, where all the cash resides, requires 2 keys to unlock to make sure that no one enters the vault alone. And the assigned key holders must change every week. And by coincidence, the key holders for the next morning were Chris Ward and Kevin McMullen.
Aha!
The night feels like it never ends. The two bank employees are waiting for instructions while somewhere out there in the cold, Chris and Kevin's families are
dancing?
being held hostage. One of the men approached and handed over 2 phones, one for Chris and one for Kevin. Each phone has a C and a K engraved on the back, C for Chris and K for Kevin. The phones only had one number stored in them. Later, when the time comes, that phone will change everything. The men order them to sit down on the couch and listen. But
Jeez,
just
they
before
really-
they started giving their plan, Chris out of nowhere asked for a can of beer. And surprisingly, the captors agreed to give him one. No one knows exactly why he made the request. Maybe
My man, dude. Family kidnapped, gun to your head, still need a brewski, take the edge
to
off.
show that he isn't hostile, that he's cooperating, maybe out of fear for his family. But there's one thing that's important to know. When it comes to talking, only one man does it. He's the one holding what Karen described as a vicious-looking knife. The others mostly communicate with each other by whistling,
Dude.
clicking their tongues, or jingling the change in their pockets. Most of the time, the house is silent. The only sound is the noise of the men cleaning, non-stop. The captors then begin laying out the exact instructions of the robbery. What to do, how to do it, and when. And always reminding them of what's at stake. We don't know exactly what was said in that living room, but according to trial records, the conversation took several hours. And the captors knew everything about the bank, its blueprints, its employees, and even the exact timing of the security shift changes. They knew it all. The scheme was also carefully thought out. Every detail of this thing was precise.
The plan is simple. Go to work
Oh my
and
God.
act normal.
It was Ludwig this whole fucking time. That's how he got the money for his fucking stream.
Go to the underground vault. Put £1 million in the bag that we will give you. Take the money to a bus stop. Set the bag down. Go back to the bank. Raise the alarm and leave. But most importantly, Keep that phone turned on at all times.
Because you see, the captors are being careful. Not the entire scheme is going to be revealed this evening. The rest will be shared through the phone once Chris and Kevin are at the bank. Anything can go wrong. Kevin or Chris might alert the authorities, a security officer might bust them, or something unexpected could happen. But that phone will be the key to everything. From the way that the captors spoke, Chris and Kevin knew that they aren't messing around. So without hesitation, they agreed to follow the instructions the gang had given them, word for word. With everything in place, at around 2 a.m., the men ordered Kevin and Chris to get some sleep. Tomorrow, they said, would be a big day. It's 11 a.m. Kevin is driving his car, heading to work, with Chris sitting next to him. Chris's shift starts at 11:30 a.m., with Kevin
These guys
following
are
half an hour later.
Obsessed with their phones.
On a normal day, when Chris isn't the key holder, he works as a supervisor in the machine area, sorting cash and making sure that every banknote goes where it needs to. He usually handles millions of pounds each day. But today is different. With just 4 days till Christmas, the bank is busier than ever. Today, Chris won't be handling millions, but tens of millions. Kevin and Chris enter the bank acting normal, and they went straight to Kevin's desk and sat there for a while, going over the plan and to kill time. You see, according to the instructions, the heist has to begin at exactly 5 p.m. But before that, Kevin and Chris had to call the captors 3 times, once for each checkpoint. The calls weren't just to confirm that everything was on track, they were also a reminder, a warning that if anything went wrong, their families would pay the price. At around 4:30 p.m., Kevin tells the staff that there's a problem with the balance, and Chris and he have to do a full recount. So the staff are dismissed for the evening. Now, only Chris, Kevin, and 2 security officers remain in the bank.
Oh,
They
shit.
have the whole basement to themselves. After 30 minutes, at exactly 5 p.m., they begin. They make their way down to the underground cash center vault, and using their keys, they unlock the heavy door and stepped inside. The room is packed with cash, freshly printed banknotes, worn-out bills, euros, and US dollars stacked in every direction. They went straight to a stack of green boxes filled with freshly printed banknotes. Each box was sealed with a metal security seal. The gang had given them specific instructions to swap the metal seals for white ones. Later, we'll understand why they did that. Kevin knew about a blind spot in the cash center where they could fill the bag without being recorded by any of the security cameras. Then, they started filling the bag that the gang had given them with £1 million in 50-pound and 100-pound banknotes.
They only
from
took
one
$1
of the vaults.
million?
The instructions were to fill it up to the fullest. It took them 15 minutes to do so. Chris immediately slung the bag over his shoulder and walked out. No security codes, no keys, no guards, nothing. The path was clear. Chris has to make one last phone call to know which way to go. He got out of the bank and walked a few yards to a bus stop on Upper Queen Street, set the bag down, and waited. About 3 minutes later, a man arrived to pick it up. Without a word, Chris left and headed back to the bank.
Jeez.
Now, only one final step left. Raise the alarm and go home. Then hopefully, everything would go back to normal. Chris would finally see his family again, and Kevin would reunite with his wife. But as Chris was heading back, his phone rang.
Uh-oh.
Good. You did exactly as you were told.
So what now?
Now you go back inside and take more.
What?
It turns out the heist of the Northern Bank would happen in stages, and this was just stage 1.
Oh, interesting.
All of it.
Interesting.
Before we break down the next stage, we need to understand how cash is actually delivered to the bank. At the back of the bank, there's a single entrance leading to Bullion Bay Alley into Wellington Street, the only gateway where every banknote enters and leaves. The only company allowed through that entrance is Securicor, the firm responsible for transporting money in and out of the bank. The plan is to send a van into Bullion Bay to pick up green boxes filled with cash. Each box could hold up to £1 million. Now, how would they do that? Remember when Chris and Kevin swapped the security seals on the boxes back in the cash center? Well, in the banking system, a white seal on a green box doesn't mean money. It means the box is filled with waste paper. Now, the second stage is to move the repurposed boxes disguised as rubbish out through the back shutter door into the Bullion Bay, where a white van will be waiting to collect them.
I see.
But there is one major problem. Only Securicor and Delivery Services vans are allowed into the alley, driven
they have
by
one?
verified employees with official ID. When Kevin told the gangs that this was practically impossible, their response was simple.
You're the boss of the bank. You get paid the big money. Make it happen.
Chris, feeling shocked, he walked back into the bank and headed straight for the vault where the green boxes were stored. There were 24 in total, each capable of holding between £0.5 and £1 million, a staggering amount of cash to smuggle out unnoticed. Kevin and Chris got to work, loading 6 boxes into each of the 4 trolleys, basically emptying the vault. Then, one by one, they wheeled the trolleys out of the vault, down the hallway, past the security control room where 27 monitors recorded everything. Before they could move the boxes outside, Kevin needed to ensure a clear exit. He walked into the control room and spoke to Billy, the security guard. He told him that a van would be arriving soon to collect the waste and that the back gate needed to be opened. Billy, suspecting nothing, agreed, but he has to come with them. With the path now clear, Kevin pushed the first...
Billy low-key bad at his job. This is weird, right? Like they send everybody home. They shut the whole day down. They're doing a suspicious count. Then he's coming in. He's saying, we got to open the back door. We're going to move some trash out. It's just, Billy's like, needs to pay more attention. It's after 5 and he's the boss. From his POV, he's like, I just want to fucking go home. This job fucking sucks.
First trolley into Bullion Bay, moved a few meters from Billy, and made the call to the captors.
It's done. Bring in the van.
It took 15 minutes for the van to arrive, reversing down Wellington Street until its tailgate was level with the bank's back door. The back of the van swung open and 2 men jumped out. Now Kevin, Chris, and Billy stood face to face with the men who were about to take all of the money. They began loading the boxes into the van one by one, 24 boxes in total, packed with cash, £18.5 million to be exact. The entire process took 7 minutes. When they were done...
If Billy is not sus at this point, it's crazy. Like, this is not normal part of bank business. He's out there in the back, 2 guys that don't probably look like fucking Securicor employees, and they're loading a bunch of crates into the back of a van.
One of the men called Chris and handed him a roll of black polythene. Unbelievably, the robbers weren't done. They were coming back for more. The final stage of the heist is about to begin.
Greedy.
Chris and Kevin, still in shock, rushed back into the vault. There was no time to think.
Dude, imagine Billy's the Joker, and he's behind this whole thing. And then as they drive away with the money, Billy shoots them both in the head, the co-conspirators, and keeps all the money for himself. Holy. He planned this whole thing from day one. Whenever he saw how fucking spineless his boss was, he knew he could use him to be oh my God, Billy. Pre-watched.
Only to act. They grabbed handfuls of used banknotes, stuffing them into the large black polythene bags as fast as they could. The first and second round had been freshly printed, brand new cash, but this time it was a messy mix of used banknotes, euros, and US dollars, making a total of £5.1 million in total. They worked in silence, knowing the robbers would be back. Then 45 minutes later, Billy called Kevin to let them know that the van is here. Kevin felt his stomach drop. This time, there were no green boxes to disguise the cash, just loose bags packed with millions. Kevin told Billy to open the inner gate. If Billy so much as glanced inside the bags, the entire operation was done. Chris and Kevin loaded the bags into a rolling cage, pushing it through the hallway toward Bullion Bay, where Billy was waiting. If he checked the bags, even out of curiosity, it was over. But he didn't. And why would he? Kevin's his boss. They start.
I like they make Billy just like he's like vibing, dude.
Over. But he didn't. And why would he? Kevin's his boss. They started loading £5.1 million right into the van, right in front of the security guard. Once the last bag had been loaded into the van, one of the men looked at him and simply said,
"That's it, lads. You can go."
And just like that, it was over. Kevin and Chris were told to raise the alarm and leave as if nothing had happened, as if they hadn't just helped pull off the biggest bank robbery in UK history. Without a word, they got into Kevin's car and drove straight to his house to reunite with their families if they were even still alive. The robbery is done.
Emergency?
Hello, how you doing? I wanted to help me just went through an ordeal of an abduction. I actually work in the Northern Bank Heist Centre. Usually to rob it.
How much are we talking now?
30 minutes, I'll be there.
At 8:10 p.m., Kevin called the PSNI, letting them know that he had just helped rob the Northern Bank.
He's so casual.
But they had already known.
He's
A few
so
moments
fucking casual. Hey, bruv. Oi, bruv. You catch that fucking footy last night. Anyway, I've been robbing the bank, 30 million pounds.
earlier, a young couple had walked past Bullion Bay and noticed the white van parked outside the bank. They felt that something was wrong, something was off. Following their instincts, they decided to report it to the first uniformed person that they saw, which happened to be a traffic warden, who immediately called the police. By the time the call went through, the van was already gone, never to be seen again. The police arrived, and they were mind blown to find that 26.5 million pounds had vanished from the bank. The head of PSNI immediately launched a nationwide hunt for the perpetrators. In the months that followed, the investigation became one of the most frustrating in UK history. The first wave of arrests came fast. Raids against Belfast, Dublin, and Cork. The police rounded up men tied to Sinn Féin, the IRA, and other known criminals, hoping to find a trail that led back to the robbers. 3 men
Random
were caught
Irish
at
people?
Houston station in Dublin, one of them carrying nearly 100,000 euros hidden in a box of washing powder. A financial advisor in Cork had 2.3 million pounds stashed in compost. Another man was arrested for burning sterling banknotes in his backyard. But of all the arrests, the most shocking was Kevin McMullen, the bank manager. The police suspected that someone inside the bank had to be involved. Because the operation was so sophisticated, they believed the criminals were part of the military. The hostages were forced to basically answer in a line of command. And Kevin, he was only one of 2 people to have access to the vault. For a full year, Kevin McMullen sat in a cell, accused of helping plan the biggest bank robbery in UK.
That is interesting, all right? Let's say you work at a bank and you want to rob the bank. Well, then getting your crew to pretend kidnap your family and force you to rob it, how do you prove it's not you? Wouldn't that be extra genius? Then you get to go back to your life.
UK history. The pressure had to have been unbearable. But after 12 months of questioning, searches, and investigations, the police had to admit the truth that they had.
Money trail? I would say what money trail? Wearing like a solid gold outfit with a giant diamond chain in my fucking brand new Lamborghini. Listen, officer, they had my family. What would you have me do?
Had nothing. Not a single piece of evidence linked Kevin to the robbery, no suspicious bank transactions, no phone calls, nothing. In the end, he walked free. The police then turned to Chris Ward, the second key holder. Unlike Kevin, Chris wasn't management, he was just a bank employee. But he was in charge of the staff work rota, and the police found it suspicious that he had scheduled himself and Kevin as key holders that day. On November 29th, 2005, Chris was arrested and accused of being the insider who made the heist possible. His home was searched, and even his part-time job at Casement Park, a Gaelic sports stadium, was raided by 25 Land Rovers from the police.
That's crazy.
But just like Kevin, there was no real evidence. Chris went to trial in 2008, but when the time came, the prosecution had nothing. The key argument, that he had changed the staff schedule on purpose, fell apart when the bank confirmed it had been a management decision. Chris was fully acquitted. By the end of 2005, the police had conducted 22 searches and made 13 arrests, but every lead hit a dead end.
Dang.
Most of the arrested men were either charged with money laundering or IRA connections, but no one was ever convicted for the actual robbery. The money is still missing, and the robbers have never been caught. Both families were found safe, at least physically. Chris's family had been held inside his home the entire time.
I'm sorry to say this, but this is why we need a nationwide Irish tracking service where every person in Ireland has to wear a chip that reports directly to the UK government. I'm sorry, but it's just, they're too dangerous of a people. Like a little shamrock. Tough affair.
While Kevin's wife, Karen, was taken deep into the Drumkira forest and locked inside an abandoned cabin. There was no woman there to, quote, take care of her, as the gang had promised. Before leaving, the captors destroyed her car, erasing any evidence that could link them to the crime. The Northern Bank robbery wasn't just a crime, it was a humiliation for law enforcement. 26.5 million pounds stolen, families held hostage, 2 bank employees forced to help, and the robbers disappearing without a trace. The police had one job, find out who did it, and they failed. To this day, the case remains open, yet unsolved.
All don't know that I learned a lot from that, but it was very cool. An insanely impressive bank heist. Usually they always get caught, like eventually. But this one, 20 plus years, incredible.